Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and we're going to review the Nest. This is actually the Nest 3, and I've wanted one for a very long time, and it took me a while to actually get a house and then want to actually put it in. Now I bought two Nests, and the Nest 3, they're supposed to talk together and interact. And so what I've done is I've broken this into three different parts. This is a very long, comprehensive review as far as the time it took to make. I used the Nest for 6 months, and I thought I'd show you the install and setup. Then I'm going to talk about how it works, and then I'll talk about the bad and the conclusion of using it, and did it save us some energy over time. So let's first start and take a look at the unboxing, install, and how that all works. So take a look with me now. There's a clever little website app that shows you what's compatible based on the wires you have. So what you do is you input these, it shows you what you have and tells you you're good to go, and then you use the labeling stickers to label everything before you connect it. Once everything's set up, you just simply turn the outward dial to the temperature you want, and blue is for cool, red is for heat if you're going to heat the house. It's really pretty simple. If you push down, you've got all these different settings. You can just spin around and go to the different one that you want. Everything from setup to settings of your system. You can also activate it with your smartphone through their app. So turn down the heat or turn it to cool, and you'll see it will do the exact same thing on the thermostat itself. As you saw, you can actually adjust the temperature of your Nest using the app. And this app's available on iPhone and Android. And you'll see right now it shows offline more than 30 days. That's because I'm making this video after the fact. But basically what you can do is turn it off. You have fan options. You have a scheduling option. And this allows you to schedule when you want the different temperatures to be, what you want them to be. You can just drag it up and down based on what temperature you want it to be at what time. Now you can do all of this manually, but it learns this over time, and that's where all of these different temperatures come in. So all of these temperatures are learned by itself. It knows what we would probably like based on the ambient temperature in the room and the outdoor temperature. So it's a pretty smart thermostat as far as that goes. It gives you a history, it gives you a schedule, you've got some settings. It will show you things like how you're wired and your equipment that you're using and the wiring that's set up before. So it tells you how everything is. So if you need to troubleshoot it or you need to check again, it just shows you how everything's set up to begin with. Now, the nice thing is you can check this when you're outside of your house. So you can be anywhere in the world as long as you have an internet or a data connection. You can tie back to your thermostat, change it, shut it off. Maybe you went on a trip and forgot it. You can just adjust it with the up and down arrow, and it's really nice. Heat, cool. Heat and cool will basically just keep it within these temperatures that you set, and it will stay there forever until you change it. Now, the Nest has advantages and disadvantages. One thing is I've seen it reboot a couple times, and that's because it has software that gets updated, or it might crash even. So you'll see right here, it has a USB port. This is a mini or a micro USB that you can update it with, and this is just the wall plug as well. So if it does lock up, which is kind of strange to think about with a thermostat, if it does lock up, you can just plug it in here and bring it back to life. It's really high quality as far as that goes, though. It's a metal ring and it just clicks, and the display is really nice. But as far as that goes, the simplicity of it is really great, but you do sort of get obsessed with checking your temperature sometimes, or to see if things are working and that sort of thing. So it just depends how much you care about the temperature, but it's really nice when it's working. And what happens is they send you a monthly report to show you how well you're doing. So let's take a look at that. As you can see, Nest sent me this nice report in an email, and they do this every month when you're using Nest. And this is last January, and you can see from January to February, I saved some energy. Now, this is going to greatly depend on the temperature where you live, the outdoor temperature, and what type of system you have, but it gives you an idea at the top. You earn leaves for how efficient you are, the hours away from home, how many hours of heating, cooling, etc. And you'll see below your usage. So if we go a couple months ahead, you'll see it went back up when it went from April to May and got a little bit warm where I live. So I live in the Carolinas, and it gets warm down here a little bit earlier than it does up north. So if you're up there, it probably wasn't as warm, so your use case is going to be a little bit different. Now, the one thing I did do is go back and look at my electric bill from year over year. Now, obviously, the temperatures aren't exactly the same, but one year, for example, in about April, it was $90. The following year, I paid $84 for electricity. So it just depends on the time of year and what you're doing. So we're not really sure if it was much warmer or cooler then, but overall, it looks like it saved me $6 in that month. So that's okay, I suppose. It just depends on the year, obviously, of how that's going to turn out for you. Now, year over year in June, my bill actually went up significantly, and some of this has to do with the way my home system works, and I'll explain that in a moment, but I actually went up about $50 in that month. I'm not so sure I saved a bunch of money, but it was a really nice experience using this, but I did have some issues, and that's why I no longer have it installed. After using it for about 6 months, I realized that things started to go weird with my thermostat and my home heating and cooling system. The system overall is supposedly compatible with it. Now, I have a Honeywell 2-zone heating system. I have an upstairs and a downstairs, and it's just a damper between the two, and it heats based off of that. The problem I noticed was my temperature was not staying where it should have in my house as far as cooling goes. And the reason for that is Nest will try and keep the temperature a little bit lower than you set it or a little bit higher than you set it, depending on if you're heating or cooling. So what that means is, say I want it set to 72 in my house, I turn the dial, set it to 72. What it will try to do is shut off, and then to be more efficient, it will try and let it creep up a degree or two and then cool it back down. And that becomes a problem when you have a damper system that is trying to compete, basically. Instead of going back and forth, upstairs, downstairs, it competes and just leaves the damper open all the time, and it never cools down like it should because the system was designed to go back and forth. At least mine was. Now, this is going to be different for everybody's heating system, but after talking to the electrician and also my heating and air conditioning company that comes out and services it, they've said they've seen similar issues before where, as much as they like them, they've had issues with certain Honeywell units or just different units in general. I'm not sure if it's something that I could change later in the future or if there's any settings, but because of the way it tries to do that, and it also does that with the heat as well. So maybe you set it, you don't want it getting colder than 70 degrees in your house. It'll let it drop to about 68 and then bring it back up to try and be more efficient. And it does all sorts of little tricks like that. It will turn the air conditioning compressor off early and just blow the cool air through the house until it goes away and then shut it off, just to try and make things more efficient over time. And I really wanted to like this. I loved it for quite a while until I started having issues and decided to remove it, and then my system became more efficient because of that damper system. Now, that's not going to be the case for everyone, but that was for me, so I had to remove both thermostats and go back to the old ones. And I have to say that the old ones really aren't a problem for me. In fact, I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't get a monthly report. I just turn it to the temperature I want, and I walk away, and I know it's going to go to that temperature. There's really something nice about simplicity sometimes, and it's not that the Nest isn't simple, but it's less data and less thinking about it. So it's one of those things that I love the idea of a smart home, but in practice, I was surprised that it's kind of a relief sometimes not to have all that data coming at you just from different areas when you have a busy life in general. But I think the Nest overall is a great product. I didn't have any issues other than what I mentioned. But I'd love to hear what you have to say about the Nest in the comments below. If you've used one, if you have one, what do you think about it? Maybe you traded it in for a different brand, or you went back to a more simple unit as well. Let me know what you've had as far as an experience in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.